Welcome to Clout Theory. Today, we revisit 10 most implicative interviews of Sean Diddy Combs, conversations recorded years before his lawsuits exploded into public view, where he may have unknowingly exposed himself, and where public confessions, subtle slips, and offhand jokes now eerily mirror sworn testimonies in federal investigations. These interviews weren't just entertainment, they were all warning signs. From awkward body language to evasive answers, and even uncomfortable on-air confrontations, each one now echoes the testimonies and allegations being leveled against him in court. You're about to see how the truth was hiding in plain sight, and how Diddy may have exposed himself without even realizing it. He was the king of hip-hop, the mastermind behind Bad Boy Records, and a cultural icon. But now, Sean Diddy Combs faces allegations that have shocked the world. What if the signs were always there? Number 10. Interview discussing party permits 2000s. The host of this interview has been argued by many, some saying it was likely hosted by Entertainment Tonight. In this throwback clip that was released back in the 2000s, Diddy casually joked about throwing massive parties without permits, and even laughed off the idea of getting arrested. Back then, it was dismissed as rebellious celebrity behavior. But now, with lawsuits citing illegal activities at private events, that flippant moment seems like he was telling us everything, and no one took it seriously.
They won't even give me a permit for the parties, man. They don't want me to throw the parties no more. But we ain't gonna stop. We're gonna keep on having fun, bringing people together from all walks of life. You're gonna hear about my parties. They're gonna be shutting them down. They're gonna probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we wanna have a good time, you know.
Federal investigations now reveal that freak-offs were held in private mansions, luxury hotels, and occasionally on yachts, characterized by their over-the-top nature and featuring explicit sexual activities that were sometimes filmed. Former assistant George Kaplan testified that he was tasked with setting up and covering up these infamous freak-off parties in hotel rooms, working 80 to 100 hours per week to facilitate these events. What seemed like casual bragging about permit violations was actually a glimpse into a systematic operation that required elaborate coordination and concealment. Number 9. Vogue interview with Cassie Ventura, 2018. In 2018, Diddy and Cassie stood side by side, presenting the polished image of a glamorous couple while with Vogue presenter during a red carpet interview. Now that footage is being re-watched under a very different light. Cassie's expressions, flat, disconnected, almost haunted, align chillingly with the testimony she later gave in a lawsuit alleging years of abuse and manipulation. But more than that, did you notice Diddy's uncomfortable state as his eyes pop-gazed on Cassie's face just at the moment she was asked whether there is something she wished to confess? It looked like hell wanted to break loose.
Final question, is there anything that you may want to confess tonight before you go in?
Truly, what looked like love now feels like quiet suffering, captured on camera. On red carpets from Los Angeles to the French Riviera, Sean Diddy Combs and the R&B singer Cassie intertwined arms, radiating an attractive and carefree facade for the cameras. However, during her testimony, the jury saw numerous photos of her black eyes, fat lip, a gash on her forehead, and other bruising on her body, along with around 7 still images from videos of freak-offs. The contrast is devastating. While the world saw glamour, Cassie was living a nightmare. Federal prosecutors showed jurors still images of male escorts in video footage of the sex parties that Combs is accused of recording and keeping as blackmail material to coerce women into continued participation in the days-long swinger trysts. Number 8. Jimmy Kimmel live appearance, 2010s. In 2011, Jimmy Kimmel hosted Diddy on his show. The jokes were flowing, and the energy felt playful, until Diddy started dropping strange, offhand comments about control and owning the moment. At the time, they seemed like confident quips, but in hindsight, many of those remarks echo the controlling dynamics described in multiple testimonies. Kimmel laughed, the audience laughed, but the subtext, that didn't age well. What makes Diddy's Jimmy Kimmel appearance particularly chilling isn't just what he said, but how he said it. The psychological manipulation tactics on display represent a masterclass in what experts call superficial charm. a key indicator of coercive control behavior. Research identifies charm as one of 6 main manipulation tactics commonly used to initiate behavior and gain compliance. And Diddy's performance perfectly demonstrates this principle in action. When Diddy made those seemingly playful comments about owning the moment, he was employing what psychologists recognize as a sophisticated manipulation technique. Superficial charm involves praising and boosting their self-esteem beyond what is true while creating artificial intimacy. The audience laughed because they felt included in his confidence, unaware they were witnessing a predator's methodology being broadcast to millions. This wasn't random celebrity banter, it was psychological conditioning. By framing control as confidence and dominance as charisma, he normalized behaviors that would be recognized as red flags in private settings. Coercive control tactics are carried out over a continuous amount of time, forcing the unsuspecting victim to adapt to a series of small, invisible steps. And television appearances provided the perfect platform for these invisible steps to reach mass audiences.
He had the Lamborghini for a day or two, and he had access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television. Apparently not. Some things, everything ain't for everybody.
George Kaplan's testimony reveals how the same psychological manipulation tactics displayed on Jimmy Kimmel translated into workplace abuse. Workplace manipulators exhibit superficial charm and false sympathy alongside verbal intimidation, exactly what Kaplan experienced. The threats over purchasing the wrong item at a store weren't just about perfectionism. They were about establishing psychological dominance through unpredictable punishment. This pattern mirrors classic coercive control. Manipulation starts subtly and becomes part of the everyday dynamic, making victims question their own competence and reality. Kaplan's 80 to 100-hour work weeks weren't just demanding, they were psychologically designed to create dependency and eliminate the mental space needed to recognize abuse. The most insidious aspect of Diddy's public manipulation was how he weaponized humor and charm to normalize control. Manipulation often involves charming victims into wanting to please while exaggerating advantages and inducing emotional states that cloud judgment. Cassie Ventura described in frank detail the physical abuse and emotional humiliation she experienced in connection to the drug-fueled, multi-day marathons where Combs directed her actions as she would always respond, "I did it to make him happy," each time the jurors asked if she engaged in any of Diddy's activities consensually. Those casual comments of Diddy about control weren't jokes. They were glimpses into a mindset that prosecutors now argue was central to his alleged crimes. Number 7. Wendy Williams Show Interview, 2018. In 2018, Diddy appeared Wendy Williams Show on an interview. This interview was intense from the start. Diddy came across as defensive, sharply redirecting questions and dominating the conversation. His dismissive tone towards certain rumors, like his connection to Biggie's death and his love life, now feels like the kind of PR performance meant to shut down inquiry. But former insiders say this was exactly how he operated, keeping control, keeping quiet, and keeping the truth buried.
Now you threw a house party and I got the footage, okay? Look at this. Now who has this many people at their house? Puff. But I love that you have, okay, 6 kids, 3 babies' moms.
Yes.
Okay.
And they all taken care of.
You know, that's right. I know. Look. You know?
No, but I want to tell you the story about that.
So then, the fateful night, Biggie was killed.
Mm-hmm.
At the height of his career.
Yes.
Do you ever feel responsible in any way?
Mm-hmm.
In any way?
I mean, the thing that I think I always feel some sort of, responsibility because I'm in this thing with him. You know what I'm saying? I met all of them in the same year, so I've known all of them the same amount of time. But we were friends. No. Listen.
Whoa, why did I do that?
The defensive behavior mirrors the pattern of silence and intimidation described by witnesses. Hotel security testified that Combs pulled $100,000 in cash out of a brown paper bag to buy surveillance video in which he was caught brutally attacking Cassie Ventura, actively trying to silence his victims. This wasn't just media management, it was evidence suppression. The same dismissive energy that shut down Wendy's questions was allegedly used to silence victims and witnesses for years. Number 6. Vanity Fair Profile Interview, 2021.
Vanity Fair, I live an extravagant life and I make no apologies for it. I'm free as a motherfucker.
Over the years, Sean Diddy Combs has had a couple of awkward interviews. During an interview with The Independent, Tressie McMillan Cottom shared her honest thoughts about the hip-hop mogul, whom she was profiling for Vanity Fair's September 2021 issue. Then, Combs sent an invitation to Cottom for a sit-down interview at his sprawling Malibu mansion. Cottom stated that throughout the entire interview, Diddy referred to himself as the third person and bragged about his handsome looks. That didn't sound very professional and mature, as Cottom highlighted to the media outlet. I remember saying to my mom that he sounded like a child. Speaking of the disgraced rapper Combs, Cottom shared, he kept talking about, "I'm an attractive young man." The way he would describe himself, first of all, was young, which I thought was bizarre.
Telling that he has created a character version of himself that is powerful and sexy and physically attractive when really what he is rich. Absent the money and the star power, I'm not sure we would look at him and think those things. But that's the kind of story a very scared, self-conscious little boy would write about himself, right? The ladies love me, I'm so powerful, I'm so dope, I'm a playboy. That sounded like a child. During the interview with Combs, when asked about the hashtag #MeToo movement, a social movement addressing sexual harassment and abuse that took the entertainment industry by storm in 2017, Diddy's answers felt hesitant and unclear, more like word salad than statements. The journalist described him as emotionally detached and evasive. During the interview, Cottom stated how Combs became uncomfortable when she began discussing the #MeToo movement. While having a conversation with Combs, Cottom asked the rapper how the movement affected him and his thoughts on the movement as a girl dad. However, Cottom didn't get direct answers to her questions. In 2021, it seemed tone-deaf. In 2024, with survivors speaking up and legal pressure mounting, it reads more like a nervous man trying to outrun a story he knew was coming. By 2021, the walls were already closing in. Surveillance footage from the Century City Hotel that was first published by CNN in May 2024 depicts Combs violently assaulting Ventura in a hallway and dragging her across the floor by her hair, footage that has been used by federal prosecutors as evidence. His evasiveness about Me Too wasn't philosophical, it was self-preservation. He knew the footage existed, knew the testimonies were out there, and was desperately trying to control a narrative that was already slipping away. Number 5. Ellen DeGeneres show appearance, early 2000s. Hosted by Ellen DeGeneres in 2009, when Ellen asked the big man, now in trouble, about his extravagant parties, he described them in somewhat event that looks bizarre. 0 to 100, Diddy said, laughing about the chaos and intensity of his infamous parties. At the time, audiences found it amusing, but many of those events are now under legal and moral scrutiny. Party culture wasn't just about luxury, it may have masked exploitation. This daytime talk show anecdote has become a breadcrumb in a much darker trail. Reports suggest that the events included explicit sexual activities and were sometimes filmed, allegedly for personal use, with invitations extended through Combs' inner circle, making attendance a coveted yet closely guarded privilege. What seemed like party planning was actually systematic abuse coordination. Former assistant George Kaplan detailed how he both set up and covered up his employer's infamous freak-off parties in hotel rooms, concealing the aftermath from hotel staff. The 0 to 100 wasn't about energy, it was about escalation from seemingly normal parties to coercive situations. Number 4. Chelsea Lately interview, 2010. Sean Diddy Combs, Kalena Harper,
and Don Richard interviewed with Chelsea Handler in 2010. From the beginning, Sean Diddy Combs' interview with Chelsea Handler continues to take uncomfortable turns, with Kalena Harper and Don Richard by his side. Diddy showed up behaving erratically, joking in ways that felt off, even for a late-night show.
And what is your name now?
That's a very nice dress you have on. My name is Sean.
Your name is
Chelsea.
Sean. And so you're in love a lot.
Yes, I am. I must admit that I'm the what's that girl? He's just not into you.
He's
He's a hopeless romantic.
Yeah, I'm the girl that was, you know what I'm saying? Like I need.
He's the girl.
Really?
Yeah,
He's the girl?
I need the.
You know what, Chelsea?
But all this is not gonna work. I mean, all what you're doing right now, I mean, you need to just come on and give in, baby. It's all right. All of that, it's not. I mean, you've never met me. I know you've heard different stories and things about me, but this is it live in the living color.
It later came to light from his former assistant that he was so high during this appearance, staff were deeply concerned. This moment, once played for laughs, is now being cited as a public instance of deeper problems bubbling just beneath the surface. The erratic behavior wasn't just recreational drug use, it was part of a pattern. Cassie Ventura described the drug-fueled, multi-day marathons that characterized the alleged freak-off sessions. Former employees and associates have testified about the culture of substance abuse that enabled and concealed the alleged crimes. What looked like a celebrity having too much fun was actually evidence of the substances that prosecutors argue were used to facilitate abuse. Number 3, The Breakfast Club interview, 2010s. In this interview with Charlamagne the God, Angela Yee, DJ Envy, Diddy sounded confident. Number 2, Keenan Ivory Weigh-In Show, 1998. Diddy and legendary Mike Tyson were hosted by Keenan in 1998. What seemed like a harmless exchange quickly turned uncomfortable when Diddy reached out to touch Mike Tyson, who pulled his hand away instantly. The moment is brief, but in retrospect, it's telling. It shows a disregard for boundaries, an assumption of dominance, and a comfort with crossing lines. Themes echoed in serious accusations decades later. This boundary violation on national television foreshadowed decades of alleged abuse. Surveillance footage shows Combs violently assaulting Ventura in a hallway and dragging her across the floor by her hair. Court evidence includes numerous photos of Cassie's black eyes, fat lip, and gashes. Even Mike Tyson, himself no stranger to controversy, instinctively pulled away from inappropriate physical contact. The moment shows that boundary violations weren't isolated incidents. They were part of a lifelong pattern. Number 1, The View interview, 2010s. Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and other hosts gathered to discuss about Diddy's lawsuit.
The P. Diddy's arrest was last night. His charging documents were unsealed right before we went on air, and they include sex trafficking, transporting to engage in prostitution, racketeering, conspiracy. His attorney says he will not plead guilty to all of them. But were you surprised at how extensive and disturbing the charges were, or did it feel par for the course given everything else that he's been accused of?
But going down the memory lane, as of December 14th, 2010, the business mogul made appearance on The View. During his appearance, Diddy made a bold statement. Power is everything. He meant influence, visibility, fame. But now, that phrase lands differently. Survivors and lawsuits describe that same power as something weaponized, used to silence, coerce, and manipulate. On national TV, he told us his philosophy. We just didn't realize what it meant. The hotel security guard testified about Combs pulling $100,000 in cash out of a brown paper bag to buy surveillance footage of him attacking Cassie, a perfect example of power weaponized. The jury has heard explicit and sometimes heart-rending testimony about rapes, emotional and physical violence, blackmail, and filmed drug-juiced freak-offs. Cassie's $10 million settlement with the hotel where the assault occurred shows how institutions enabled the abuse through silence. When he said power is everything, He wasn't talking about success. He was describing his method of operation. The pattern is revealed. Looking back at these interviews with the knowledge we have now, a chilling pattern emerges. Every joke about parties, every comment about control, every moment of inappropriate behavior or defensive posturing was actually evidence hiding in plain sight. The entertainment industry's culture of celebrity worship created a shield that protected these actions for decades. The surveillance footage that went viral when CNN aired it came from a hotel staff member who had secretly filmed the screen monitor. Neither Sean nor his team knew about this copy. This video and testimonies like those from former assistants who worked 80 to 100-hour weeks facilitating these events had become pivotal evidence in the federal case. The interviews weren't just celebrity appearances. They were confessions broadcast to millions, with the truth hidden in plain sight. We were all watching. We just didn't know what we were seeing. These interviews weren't random clips. They were warnings. Glimpses of a narrative hiding in plain sight, masked by celebrity charm, media polish, and industry silence. Now, with testimony and lawsuits rising to the surface, these moments have turned from entertainment into evidence. This is Clout Theory, where pop culture stops pretending and starts revealing. Subscribe. Stay loud. Stay watching.